Welcome to The Leads Are Shit. This is a real estate magazine podcast, and here we have the owner of Real Estate Magazine, Andrew Foliato. Andrew is also the founder of Just Sell Homes, which is a real estate marketing company, so real estate agents like me can just sell homes while they take care of what drives your business. And my name is Taylor Hack. I am from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I am a team leader with Remax River City, and we have Ravi Singh here. And Ravi's from Toronto. He runs the Connexus Group. And that's something that you've been in real estate for quite some time, eh, Ravi?
20 years, Aunt Taylor.
Ooh, you look young, man.
Well, I got my license at 25, so I think you could do the math.
Oh, my goodness. So 25-year-old Ravi.
Oh, yeah.
Was that like was it tough at 25?
So tough is an interesting word, right? Like what's tough, right? And I will say, when I started out in the business, there were not 73,000 licensed real estate agents in Toronto. And, my experience prior to selling real estate, it's a little colorful and interesting. I threw parties. That was kind of my, have you ever watched that movie with the guy that's like does the victory lap at university? And he's got, and Cal Penn is like his best friend, the brown guy.
Van Wilder.
So I was kind of like Van Wilder, right? Like I threw parties and,
it was a funny story of this recently so we did our Run magazine and hired a photographer to go out. When we went out for dinner recently, and I posted that we were together, our photographer replied to the story being like, Ravi too? And I was like, yeah, how do you know? She's like, it was from our partying days.
What's your photographer's name?
Bella Lou, so Avenue Studios.
Oh, Bella.
Yeah, Bella.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So, I mean, I used to throw parties. That was kind of what I did in university to pay for my tuition. I had this idea that I wanted to be like a salesperson or a sales guy. Like that picture of like the guy in the airport with that little small briefcase and like blue jeans and a blue blazer, and he's like wheeling and dealing. And so, I got this sales gig at IBM. And, the interesting kind of experience I had at 25 was I had gotten really sick. And during that time, during that humbling procedure of learning what really matters in life and what doesn't, I met a girl. We became very, close, and she's now my wife and the mother of my two kids. And the reality is she was in commercial real estate. And she said, Rab, I think you would do well in real estate. And I remember I resigned from IBM on the Hindu festival day of Diwali. My mom, she wrote me this beautiful card. My dad was not very happy. And she said, go for it, right? Like just pursue whatever makes you happy, whatever gives you joy. And I didn't really know what this path and what this journey would look like back then, but I knew I was enterprising, entrepreneurial. I liked marketing. I enjoyed connecting with people. A lot of things kind of came, I would say, somewhat naturally to me. This is 2005. I didn't really have a business until 2008, though. And we needed the cycle of people just buying homes and, reactive business to end. And that halted and ended in 2008. I remember that vividly. In that March, I had taken on, we're talking Ravi was doing like 7 to 8 transactions at this time. Not a big business by any means, but, doing pretty okay. And I remember I had sold this bungalow to my own buyers, and then I had listed this 1.5 story, and I just couldn't sell it. And I remember I was let go from my first listing. I was 27 or 28 years old, and I had already spent all the money that I thought I was going to make that spring, right? So in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is just money in the bank. Like I made all the mistakes, right? And you know what? That time, I remember my dad had just passed away, and I remember being like just very like shattered in many different ways. And you know what happened is there was this speaker coming to our office, free speaker, and I said, "Oh, I don't have time for that. Like, God knows what I was busy doing, guys, but I don't have time for that." And somehow I went in, and this guy was talking about his failures. and then talking about how coaching and mentorship and models and methods and all that changed his life. And he was kind of like the free speaker leading to the event that Brian Buffini was hosting. I'm like, what does this guy have to offer? And I remember, I'm going to tell you guys a crazy story right now. I was so upset with myself and so down and out. I've never told this story ever. And I was like, literally, like, I don't know if real estate's for me. I'm frustrated. I'm indebted. And guys, this is a funny story, but that August, a psychic told my mom that she had to come see her with a message from my dad, who had passed away in March. And I'm like, what the? I can swear on this show. I'm like, what the fuck is this, right? Like, this is crazy, right? And, long story short, this psychic who lives in Burlington, who's like a distant friend of the family, she comes over and she's like, oh, to my mom, I didn't know why I was coming, but your husband told me to come. And then when I was driving here, I saw this sign, and the sign said Ravine Lots. And in that Ravine word, it had Ravi's name. And I saw that, and I kind of got this like message, like, that's why you're here. And she said something really interesting that made me kind of like peculiar about like whether or not this was a message or just a weird woman, right? But she's like, your dad is saying that you can't fit in his shoes and you shouldn't try to fit in his shoes. And something about hush puppies and tube socks. I'm like, what? And we always used to tease my dad because he would wear white tube socks with these hush puppies, right? But anyways, she's like, he wants to give you this $500 to take this Brian Buffini course. I'm like, okay. So long story short, and I didn't know we were going to go here in this conversation, but 2005, Ravi shucking and jiving, making, 10 grand here and there. 2008, Ravi indebted a little bit. And I really, that was the first time I met somebody who I thought was very charismatic on stage, very interesting, very colorful, very entertaining, but also very principled, very pragmatic, very realistic. And he basically was offering this Kool-Aid that if you consumed it and did exactly what they said, you could clone somewhat similar results. And I'll tell you guys, I was like, okay, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do anything and everything that these Brian Buffini guys say. And I signed up with coaching in California, had this guy from San Diego that would call me, and he's never met me or anything like that. And we'd have these headset calls, and they'd send this box. I don't know if you guys remember the Brian Buffini boxes with cards. I used to have to write these cards and put them in the mail with these letters, like snail mail letters. And I was like, you know what? What do I have to lose? So I started writing these cards and writing these letters. And then they encourage you to create these pop-by gifts. I'm sure you've heard of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I went and got,
and it's a pair of gloves.
So I went and got these corny wind-up flashlights, okay? And I remember just prior to the holidays, I called my friend Alvin, and I'm like, Al, I want to come by your condo. He was my first client. And he bought this condo in Queen and John, right across from the Much Music building. It was listed by Brad Lamb. My first deal was an assignment with an agent by the name of Robin Pope. So long story short, I go in. I'm like, Al, listen, I just wanted to come by and give this to you. And I gave him this wind-up flashlight. And it said, lighting your path with all your real estate decisions, or something like that. He's like, oh, Rav, this is great. I'm going to use this when I'm organizing my records for my turntables if it's a dark place. And at this time, I didn't know, but he was dating a girl that was on the sofa. She's from Montreal. She had just finished graduating from McGill. She's watching me there, and I get a text message from him during the week. Says, Rav, Vicky is going to call you. She wants to talk to you about something. And the domino effect was Vicky started flipping houses with me. And Vicky, up to today, is my number one, maybe number two advocate in my database. She has referred every single McGill MBA that has moved to Toronto. We're talking founders, tech entrepreneurs, one I'm very close to. I met with her in Yorkville yesterday. She wants to upsize to Rosedale. We're talking 20 years into business now, major successes. And Vicky and I started flipping houses in 2009. And you know what? That was kind of like an interesting domino effect of meeting my girlfriend who became my wife, getting a license, not having a business, hitting a downfall, having a psychic visit, getting money from my deceased father who had passed away in March, all leading towards a segue of building models. And my model at that time was calls, notes, and Popeyes. That's what I was. And you know what? I didn't know that one moment where I took that wind-up flashlight would transfer to this web of business, guys. Isn't that crazy? I'm talking probably at least $50 to $60 million in volume over my career, right? And so I can tell you,
what you're saying is the content hook for this episode now is how a psychic turned Ravi's business to a $50-60 million pipeline.
There you go, right?
Content hook done.
Yeah. You know what? That sounds pretty clickbaity, but there you go. I put that in how a psychic got it there.
Yeah. Well, I'll do
That's
something
awesome.
there.
It's definitely cool to see, what your thoughts were when your back was against the wall. And it's interesting to kind of basically bring that into the now, because I think that there's some agents out there that kind of feel the same way. The market's somewhat turned the lights out on them. Last year they were thinking it was going to bounce, and this year they're like, okay, this is the new normal. We have to adjust and adapt. We've got agents here from all over the place. Colby's here from Salmon Arm, Miles from Lethbridge, Miles and Ryan from Lethbridge, Ollie from Whistler. So thanks to everybody who's hopping into the chat and shouting it out, because real estate is a location-based game. So we definitely want to know who you are and where you're from. That's definitely helps us connect the dots wherever they are. So Ravi, when you had come through that period of time where you started to get to this bubble in your business, right? I imagine that was influential in the way that you evolved, because the Ravi that I know isn't the 25-year-old. The Ravi that I knew was already how the Lion King has that part in the movie where Simba's walking along the log, and in the beginning he's a little cub, and then he's an adolescent, and at the end he's full, lion, full what they would describe as king of the jungle, even though that's a contradiction. So in that case, you had already crafted everything, and it sounds like the core was that referral business that started to come from all the people that you had connected to.
Yeah.
And then there's this other weird theme that runs through this, and that's music, food, and a good time together.
Yeah, and Taylor, there's something really interesting. A friend of mine gave me a book by, I think it's Be the Purple Cow, right? Which is Seth Godin, right? Great marketer, right? And with regards to me, I've gotten really comfortable in my skin. I'm kind of artsy. I'm a little eccentric. There's something to be said for not being the prototype realtor wink and a gun kind of thing. You know what I mean? We're all relatable. We're all human beings. We're going to be marketable based on who we are, not what we think we need to sometimes pretend to be. And I found that I tend to attract the people who have some sort of commonality, right? So we call and I think I got this from Melanie Peache, we call our target client approachable ballers. All right. And what I mean by that is approachable ballers are kind of like people who might feed at a soup kitchen or call their mom every day, but yet have an amazing collection of Jordans or maybe Rolexes, right? People who are interested in figuring out round one financing for their startup, or maybe the person who wants to have some exposed brick or some cathedral ceilings because cookie cutter's just not calling their name, right? And this is like our avatar, like maybe a really cool arm tattoo and doesn't mind flying first class, but would happily give his seat to the little old lady who is sitting in the back close to the bathroom. Right? Like this is kind of like who we kind of see in our circle. And this is also who I think resonates very well with my team and my group. And I've also decided a long time ago that widgets and solving puzzles was not as important to me, and that's not the ladder that I'm on. There's no automation to my business. There's no scaling through tech. It's really about the experience, the human experience. And whether I'm relating to you guys as my colleagues, the team that I adore, that I share core memories with, or my clients who I call my Connexus client family, I'm only going to spend my time with you if I feel like it's a valuable exchange, if there's an opportunity for growth through me. And the byproduct of that, is commission. But that's not the ladder I'm on. Do you understand what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see it in a few different ways because, like, I think the expression of most artists is they want the world to help them, whether it's financially or through recognition, to create what they feel inside. And then the expression from entrepreneurs or in many cases, people in the private sector is different than that. And I think it truly is that they want to create enough value that they become valuable, right? And a lot of people get lost in the weeds of where they want to set the prices and whether they're taking advantage of people. And that is their expression. But I think it is a different expression. So what I hear from you is that you are select with your client profile and you have built an experience that they would value that many other people may not recognize, because this group understands how to defer to professionals. Mm-hmm. So they ask you, hey, Ravi, like, what is the best one of these houses when it comes to an example of real estate?
Yeah. And quite honestly, Taylor, one of the things that echoes through myself and my team is like, be exceptionally good. And I think in the world that we're stepping into, which involves automation, AI, intelligence, I don't have any competition because I'm their guy. Like someone says, hey, like we're moving. Well, you got to call Rav. And that's not because of speed to lead. That's not because of, resource of information. That's because of the insights, the understanding, the human connection, the level of intimacy that I have towards their representation, right? And I feel like that's an important differentiator as we get into the future. You and I were talking about Zillow leads in the US and how, that was a great pot of gold until it wasn't, right? And I feel like incubating your business with a database is not good enough. Incubating your business with a collection of deep relationships is good enough. And by the way, like there is a weakness in that, right? Because exiting or being out of production or being away from your deep connections, it's a tough thing to happen, right? But even that is achievable, and it's only achievable through reps. So what I mean by that, for example, Justin, like he's been with me for 12 years. He has some equity in the team. Like he's like literally like a brother to me. If I said to the best clients that I have, hey, Justin, take you out this weekend. It's my daughter's like kickboxing tournament. They would have no problem with it, right? So, it's an interesting thing because I understand the weaknesses to my business and my business model, but I'm willing to deal with those weaknesses given the skills and given the life experience that I want to live, at least for now.
I'm curious, like, kind of get really granular here so people can understand how much care goes into your database to build those relationships. Let's say I'm one of your average ideal clients in your database in a 12-month period, like how often, how am I hearing from you? What does that look like, both from like either some form of automated, if there is anything, to like how often are you picking up the phone or dropping by my house still?
Yeah, so there's 12 newsletters that go out via email. They're all done by me. I hate those cookie cutter things. No offense to the, kits or whatever. But those are going out. Plus any kind of like timely type of emails. They're usually BombBomb videos where I talk to my database. There are home show tickets that go out. There's a summer kit that goes out. There's this and that that's dropped off or automated. Twice a year, you're going to get what I call my real estate health checkup. And it's, Andrew, listen, you're home in Newmarket. I just want you to know there's a lot of discrepancy towards what's happening. Here's 5 listings that I think are kind of similar to yours. By the way, we expect the Bank of Canada to keep rates around the same. Also, here's a report from Remax Canada talking about York Region. Lastly, I hope you and the wife here are good, as well as the kids. And I hope to see you at our family reunion happening in the summer. All right. So those go out with detailed, granular sort of comps. And then we do have some what we call micro client events, so experiential things for our clients. So I might, like, if you guys, let's say you and Taylor are into tech, all right, and data and that kind of stuff. I might say, hey guys, I'm curating a small group. We're having some wine. We're having a living room talk with a friend of mine who's in brand development. And you know what? Brand development, specifically in the digital world, I just wanted to invite you. I'm just inviting like a handful of cool people. I thought you might like it, right? Then we'll maybe do things like, oh, hey, we're watching the Raptors playoffs at a bar, like come through, or we did that for the Jays as they got into the World Series, like, things like that, right? So there's a lot of micro events. We don't invite everybody to everything. We don't paint everybody with one brush. And in terms of the actual work, it's usually like Richard Robbins, who's like a company that I coach with. They talk about triple plays. That's all it is. It's literally I'm going to say this. I'm going to say it again for everybody who thinks that there's something else to this business. It's talking to 5 people a day. Right, guys, just talk to 5 people. They don't mind you calling them. They actually don't. And if they're really busy, just be like, hey, I want to catch up on a couple of things. What's a good time to talk? Just do that every day. Like, I don't know why we hide from that. It's like, we want to get fit, but yet we'll do everything we can to not go to the gym. And then in January, we do like 30 hard and quit on January 15th, right? Like, just do your job. And the reason I think I can do it is because I care about my clients. Like, the phone's not heavy when I have to pick up, someone close to me and be like, how you doing?
And how many, because you have a decent, 6, 7 team members, is that right? Roughly
7.
Like, how many in that would each probably on average have in their database that they're doing that level of touch with?
Yeah. So the goal is to build a reliable, high functioning database. You need to have 100 people. Yeah. So, and to be quite honest, the math behind it is the average Canadian moves every 5 to 7 years. So in theory, if you have 100 people, 20% roughly should be buying or selling each year. Like, that's a pretty healthy pipeline. Plus the obvious result of referrals.
Yeah, and you can do those metrics out from there. So there's different coaches that look at different things. There's some that base it on 5-year movements. And then there's others that say, okay, well, you're not going to get them all. So out of 100, you'll probably get 10, and you should be looking for the activities you should do with a group of 100 should lead you to 10 others. Mm-hmm. But if you could actually hit that mark, and for every 100 you have in your database, you have this 20 run, that's really good. But now you're talking about managing a larger database than that. Yeah. How much is roughly the collective Connexus database?
Yeah, so it's approximately 550.
That's awesome.
And so I would say 280 are VVIP.
Okay, so in that, what I'm hearing, because I talk to some agents that have 50,000 profiles in a database, and you can see that they're rolling the Walmart program. But then 560 is for a business that has your, I guess, experience level. That you've cut a lot of people out of there. Like that is not the number of houses you've sold. You have eliminated.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people like contacts. I like relationships.
So if there's not enough there, that's how you choose.
Qualifying question I use when people say my database is this many thousands, I say, how many of them, if you ran into them into a grocery store, would know who you are? And like that's the quickest way to get down to the real number of their database. Whereas I'm guessing like that 550 you're mentioning.
It's 100% for me, Andrew.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like it'd be pretty high up for you on that level. Because I feel like every listing you ever took, if you just collected every lead and never let go of them, your database would be tens of thousands probably at this point.
And let's talk about, sorry, I was just going to say just quickly, Taylor, like the other thing that's really a gift to me is like I like to interact with people on social media. So like people know like that we're doing this right now. People know that I was at the Chinese New Year or Lunar New Year celebration for Remington, right? So when you document and you document from a place of authenticity, what ends up happening is there's a kinship and a connection that just happens organically from that.
I see. So when it comes down to your, like we were talking about your database, and I wanted to know how it's organized because you were talking about some things that are nuanced. And normally I would think that once you start segmenting your database, there's going to be things like interests in there or family structure. Is this something that is set up in your database, or when you're thinking about tech opportunities, do you scroll through and think of the people as you go through?
Yeah, so think of it like I want to have dinner with 12 people and I'll just handpick 18 to invite, right? So there's really no there's no KV core tags or anything like that. It's really like when you have as small a database as mine, it really is like I could tell you like off the top of my head who I'd be calling for, like I said, the Blue Jays game or the Raptors game or the branding meetup or the wealth building talk or the et cetera, right? And it's very interesting because I don't focus on a geographic region in Toronto. And Andrew will know this. Taylor, you probably know this too. Toronto's about an hour and a half away from Toronto. So it's like when you do some of these things, it's like, where are we going to host it so that it's central for everyone? You know what I mean? So that's another interesting. You can
sometimes get up to me in Newmarket before you get to another part of Toronto.
Yeah, well, the three of us and Ralph just had dinner in Vaughan. Like that's how to make it work.
Yeah, don't get me started, guys. Like, we need a hero, Andrew. Like Olivia, I don't know, she's not doing so good. Can you run for mayor or something? Like,
I'm not a Toronto resident.
Toronto needs a hero, guys. If anybody in the comments wants to run for mayor, like we need a hero.
Yeah,
you definitely don't need anybody like me from Alberta. It'd be like having a fox in the henhouse.
I mean, once in a while you need that just to shake it up a little and then then restart from there.
I would probably make Doug Ford look somewhat well adjusted.
So do you know about Rob Ford, Taylor?
I do.
If you can make Rob look adjusted, that's a big accomplishment.
Yeah, not on some of the angles. So when you take a look at your group now, since you know your ideal client so well, it sounds like you're really in tune with a lot of people that would define themselves as leaders.
Oh, yeah. You know what? And one of the things about like my team, for example, is we really try and carve out entrepreneurship. We carve out like alpha real estate agent. Like there's no buyer agents, there's no showing agents, there's no listing administrators. There's nothing like that. You know what I mean? Like everybody's a top producer. Right? We just simply incubate and run through your business with the resources, support, mentorship, staffing, tools that you need to excel at a high level.
So with your team members, like let's say a new team member comes on, are you more helping them like coach them how to work their database? Are you feeding them any business? What's that look like there?
Yeah, so I don't really take on more members. It always seems to happen very organically. And the thought process behind it is yes, I should be able to support their business with some of my past buyers, like warm past leads. I have stranger danger. Like when people call and want to see my listing, I'm not typically doing that. So there's that kind of stuff, but I'm really giving them 18 months of a model that I really enjoy, that works for me, that I know will produce results for you. So Ashley, for example, on my team, who's phenomenal, every year she's had a quantum leap. And, last year even, which was a tough market, she was up about 11% from the year before, which was her best year in terms of GCI. And it's all because she doesn't mind calling people. She doesn't mind doing all the things that I know and she knows works. We just create a framework and an automation to a level, as well as the tools are pooled. The resources are pooled.
So this is interesting because Andrew is really familiar with my marketing, and my marketing budget would be skewed maybe 2/3 towards outreach and 1/3 to nurture. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like you are probably more than the other way around, like 2/3 nurture, more than that.
Yeah. So the interesting thing is, I would argue that if we look at nurture as outreach, then it works the same, because I literally, like, all February, I will be getting calls from people in my circle that are referring me. So, for example, from here, I'm going to a 4:00 late lunch with a friend of mine because he was meeting someone for their insurance. And he says, Rav, you're going to like him. That's how we started. You're going to like him. His name's Sandy. You're going to like Sandy. And he's good people. And I'm hoping you'll take him on. He wants to buy. His budget's about 1.2 Durham region. Right? So that's not like my time and reps into my guy who's like one of my close clients. It is outreach because he's now walking around with the Ravi flag.
Mm-hmm. So this is kind of an interesting concept, and I think that that's something we've had Braden Wheatcroft on here before, and I know when he was in real estate, he basically put his whole budget into people he knows, and that's what you're telling me. Like, this sounds like the best defense is offense.
Yeah, and Coach B, shout out to Coach B. Him and I have just started a coach-mentee relationship. Last month, my coach retired, and I'm so happy for her. And you know what? Great guy. And he's got that, when they talk about true colors, he's got that blue green that I think I kind of have too, right? So it makes total sense to me that he would be investing into his database. And like I said earlier, Taylor, for me, it's not about the best efficient use of resources to optimize for commission. It's about the best efficient use of time to optimize for experience.
And I see where you're coming from there, because when we take a look at our resources in how much we would spend to get strangers to know us and then like us, it's so much easier to find the people that already like you and have them introduce you to other people that already like you, because that first part where they don't know you and you might be asking them to trust you, that's where all the pain in real estate is like getting that first 3 yards towards the first down.
And let me share with you that very often people will say there's two groups of people, the people you know and the people you don't know. But I'd argue there's three groups of people: the people you don't know, the people you know, and the people they know. And all I want to do is market to the people I know so they can introduce me to the people they know.
Let's stop here, because this is a concept that we haven't talked a lot about, was talking through the people you know to the people you don't know, or Ravi's offense is the best defense. And why spend time and energy on strangers, which is nice. Now, if you do not have a lot of referral business, my experience of this was that when you meet people that are brand new, you have all this distance to run. And when you meet them and they're through a friend, they're already open to liking you. And a lot of the time they know there is a program. So they kind of will get on board. Where with new people, you got to work for them to like you, and you have to convince them that you have like what do they normally call it? It's a process that's proven, a proven process.
Yeah. So we have learned to be very sticky with the messaging around our process. We call it the Connexus advantage. And the reality, hey, past client, is you don't want your friends not to experience the Connexus advantage. Like, you know that the money in their pocket, as well as just the fun and experience they're going to have, is something that they would benefit from. And that is kind of like an interesting nuance to the conversation that I would have, or even not the conversation, but the understanding that I would have with the people around me. Like, I've had people call me, say, Rav, I just got out the elevator with somebody who looked like they were hanging out with their realtor looking at condos. And I gave them your number because I told them, like, what are you doing, like, not using Ravi, right? Like, that level of advocacy is what we need and want. And by the way, you know what the best way to get that kind of advocacy is? It's not inviting people to the little event or sending out a birthday message or a market snapshot. It's in the pocket of actually transacting, having them understand how good you are. Like, I can't stress to you, like, there is a level of, and I'm not saying like I'm Gretzky or anything like that, right? But there is a level of connection, sitting down at the table with somebody, holding their hand through this process. I'll share with you, I have a client right now who, unfortunately, her marriage is over. She's lost a lot of money through legal fights. She's taken time off work. And she finally negotiated full decision making of her children, and the cost of that was equity in the house. And she's emotional, and she's picking up all the pieces. And we've shared this journey together as the house is sold. And you know what? I'm honored by the opportunity to serve her, and I think she understands that. I have her back, right? And by the way, like Taylor, Andrew, like, it's a tiring time for real estate agents. When you are present for the babies getting made, not literally, but the babies coming out, or whatever I'm trying to say, guys. Sorry, but the promotions, the graduations, right? When you're present for all of that.
The milestones.
It's like your spirit lifts, and then you get to the other side, the divorces, the debt, the death, and I'm honored by that opportunity to be of service. But I'll tell you, like, it can be tiring.
Mm-hmm. And that's something that I think you might be built for more maybe than me. Is that, like, those relationships, for me, I like to be like the real estate uncle, the somebody who comes in and can do the job and helps them with the business stuff. And I have, I guess, my points when it comes to like the relationship stuff, but really, like, to think about being on the phone for an hour with someone going through their divorce, like, that's something that you have this affinity for, where you kind of move through it.
And I will share with you, I do have the ability to listen, guide, advise, but I have put up certain guardrails around how needy clients can be, right? And I think, like, part of my responsibility to my own self is really making sure that I'm not their person, but I'm their real estate agent.
You got it. Yeah, because they will put you in that slot. Yeah. And you will get these 9:30 p.m. phone calls that'll rock your night. And it's something where, like, do you have any guidance for us on when people are approaching that line?
So I do. So the first thing I will say is 9:30 is off limits. Like the first barrier is time. Okay, like I don't present offers at night. I don't talk to agents at 9:30. I don't talk to clients at 9:30. Like let's all raise the bar as professionals and work when we work. All right. The second is when you're going to have the weight of someone's situation, you need to step into that and then step away from that in its entirety. So I'm not a therapist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist or anything like that, but I'm dealing with people's money, I'm dealing with people's sustainability, I'm dealing with people's circumstance. So I say to them, hey, like, do you want to talk at 10 or 10:30? Let's map out what this looks like. The third thing is put it all in an email, man. Here's the updates. Here's the updates. Here's the updates. I'll be in touch if there's anything else. I'll be in touch tomorrow with more updates. Like very seldom am I navigating a seller on the phone. Like I'm presenting an offer on the phone. I'm presenting an offer in person. Otherwise, I'm telling you what I did. I'm telling you what I'm going to do. And I'm telling you when I'll be in touch again.
And your tool is text email or are those bombs as well?
That's all. I live and die by my inbox, Taylor. Like literally my Gmail, every day I know that I will be touching base with these people. And I've learned to program my day in a very specific way where nurture happens in the morning, offers happen in the morning, updates happen in the morning, lead generation happens, and then like let's go record a podcast with Andrew and Taylor. Like let's work. Let's do the incision for surgery from 9 to 12, right? And then if we have to take an appointment and meet someone for a late lunch at 4 o'clock, so be it.
It's an early dinner.
But either way, like even that, I'm like, I should probably book them in for another time. But it's okay. Like it's like one of my closest friends. Like I just went to Monday Night Raw with him. Like I guess I could go have. Is it early dinner? Sorry, I guess I could go meet him. I guess I could go meet him at 4:15 for a meal with someone he says I'm going to get along with.
That works. Yeah, like when we talk about like the ACE framework, right? Like Taylor, we haven't talked about that on the show for a while now, but it's like the one side's attract, convert, and then engage. Like basically, Ravi's heavy on the bottom part, which is 5-star service, VIP program, and like good events. And this is like when we were talking, like, yes, before we came on, why we called it the leads are shit. Kind of from people like you who would call in to hire us to generate them cold leads. And I was like, well, your business is referral based. If you start getting all these cold Facebook leads, you're going to say the leads are shit because you're used to referrals.
Guys,
right? Like, that's it.
No offense to online leads and Facebook marketing and all of those different funnels. I learned early on in my life that I don't want to spend time trying to, like you said, Taylor, make a stranger into an advocate. I'd rather take a referral and make them an advocate. I'd rather take a customer and make them a client.
See, and that's why I like this doing this stuff with Andrew, because for me, I agree with you, but I like to experiment so much. So really, I think in the beginning of my business, it wasn't very long into it that I had a lot of referrals. And by the time I was in year 3, I was overloaded because the volume was huge. So in that case, then you start to try to figure out other things and you learn things, because I realized later that the reason I left production was because I wasn't filtering the people working with me like you learned to do.
Yeah.
And you learn some valuable lessons the hardest way.
Yeah.
And I had to find the pieces in different ways. And I appreciate that I got the other hand dealt to me on that.
And so it's interesting because you enjoy the adventure of business. And I know that about you. I also do, but I'm learning to play other games while keeping the brick house of repeat and referral and advocacy and an alliance as my business. So what I mean by that is, yeah, I'm playing around with social media, but that's for a party I'm throwing. I'm playing around with self-publishing, and I've got a book coming out. I'm playing around with building a speaking wheel to who I am and a personal brand. You know, I'm playing around with philanthropy and sponsored decks and all this stuff because, like you, I kind of like new puzzles, but I don't want the new puzzles to be online leads for real estate or open house for real estate or, pre-construction for real estate or that stuff. Real estate is, for me, it's repeat, referral, alliance, and you could argue social media and realtor to realtor referrals. And then the other kind of puzzles, I'm just having fun with like passion projects. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Then you find new clients during your passion projects.
What's that, Andrew?
You find new people that fit with your ideal clients through passion projects sometimes too.
100%, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good way to get aligned.
Like-minded.
And really, you're meeting people, and then when they do real estate, you're involved. And that's also a very powerful way to be connected, because a lot of people that are, especially when they fit your description of baller, they almost exclusively work within their network. They're almost never someone's sign call.
Very true. Very true. So, for example, like I'm part owner of a restaurant downtown. Me and Taylor had dinner there Actually, Andrew, you were there too, right?
We've been there, I think, a couple of times, because I think we brought Stephen Ken from Remax Hallmark there one night with like a whole bunch of people. Remember that?
I missed that one, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true. But we had a great time.
Yeah, so, for example, just as an example, the owners of that restaurant, the operators, they're great business guys. They've got this whole incubator. They've got about 8 incredible businesses on the go. And one of the two brothers is like, Rav, I know so many real estate agents, man, but I trust you. Like, you're like the guy, right? And I took that as a compliment because I know how wide his reach is. And he's like, yeah, like you're the guy. Like, my parents are moving. If they don't use my Egyptian uncle, like, you're the guy, right? So, you know what I mean? It's like, it's very interesting to me because when you are kind of that, let's call it a baller, you don't go outside of, hey, who do I trust and who do they trust?
I think all three of us are defined as people that run businesses so that we get to choose who works with us.
Yeah.
Well, right? I was going to say, like, actually, which does follow up with the next question. Like, one of my favorite things is getting rid of clients that aren't a good fit. Like, because your database is so trim. Like, how do you decide when someone gets out of it?
Yeah, you know what? I'm pretty much every year, right? Every year, I'm kind of like, are they on the boat? I don't know, right? Like that happens every year. I will tell you guys something too, and Andrew Taylor, I don't want to move this in the completely opposite direction, like just at once, but I will say, like, Bruce Lee, he has this very famous quote where he says, please don't give me an easy life. Please give me the strength to endure the hardship so that at the end of the journey, I would have grown. And, in the Japanese culture, when something breaks, there's this vision of beauty in the cracks, right? And I happen to have a lot of scars due to major invasive surgeries that I've endured. And I've had 1, 2, and now 3 major life-changing illnesses. And it happens to be that tomorrow is the anniversary of me 10 years beating cancer. And, going through those things, like, if I can say anything to a public space is, and I don't want to sound cliche, but I really want people to understand, like, moving through life, waking up and opening your eyes and being grateful and realizing how fragile it all is and just saying, wow, like, I'm going to parent-teacher interview tonight at 6:20. I'm so happy. Or wow, I get to sell this house today. I'm so happy. Or even wow, I'm alive. And as such, like I won the lottery. Like Gary Vaynerchuk sometimes does that as a bit. Like I truly believe that. So imagine you have this diamond that is so rare, so scarce, you can't find another one. You just won. And this diamond is like so valuable. And you're like, okay, like I only have like this diamond called time, and I'm going to share it with only a few people, and then it's over. You're not going to waste your time, man. You're not going to be there like saying, "Hi, I got your registration on my landing page, and I'd just like to know, would you like to?" I don't even know what the script is because I've never done it. You know what I mean?
I think you did it like 10 years ago once, because you were an early Just Sell Homes clients, and we set up a few of those types of campaigns for you. It didn't last long.
Andrew, before that, Carl Langschmidt, he started something called condos.ca.
Yep.
And I saw the business plan, and I don't know if you were at Remax Integra when Dev Basu was setting up SEO for Remax.
Through there. So I met him later in Masterminds.
So he was actually one of my clients, and our professor put us in touch. He said, Ravi's doing real estate, you should talk. And I was probably the cheapest client he's ever had, but I optimized for search like at the start of it all. I'm talking about like 2009 maybe, and I was getting these leads. And these were not optimized for location. They were location real estate. It was optimized for location real estate agent. So they were seller leads. People were like, hey, I was looking for a Scarborough real estate agent, and you came up as like the best option. Can you sell my mom's house? I'm like, oh, here we go again. Got to sell another house. Like it was like I was busy. I was making money, right? But I realized
you were an approachable baller.
But I realized like I didn't need it, because I was already like helping like enough people that were already in my ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember he does good work. I think he now is just on SaaS.
Dev? I
could be wrong. Yeah, what's he doing now?
I think he might have exited out of everything. He's got two beautiful children. I think he's in Belize right now, like from his Instagram profiles, you know?
Yeah. He came to a mastermind when I was doing like a lot of agency style masterminds, and they brought him in as like, this is the guy who can help you. And then I was like, can I hire you to consult? And I think he had briefly looked at becoming a coach for agencies, but I don't think he decided that was something he wanted to do.
You know, the interesting thing about him is the things that I know about him, and his father passing away young, and his mother migrating here, and them starting from nothing and him building. Like, these are the things that I remember, you know, and I could tell you the same things about every client, their story, right? Like, I had this idea for marketing. Have you guys ever watched those We Got Engaged, and they sit on a love seat? They're like, I didn't really like her, but she kind of was at the bar, and we kind of met. Next thing you know, we went for a double date, and like they talk about their story. Imagine you could capture that like coffee talk about like testimonial. It's like, you know, Rav came over, a friend of ours said he was like the best agent in the neighborhood and insisted that we talk, and you know, he was late and he didn't seem to have his docs really well prepared. But then he asked so many questions, and I felt my shoulders come down, and you know, I felt this connection, like their story. Like our job is your story.
So I've talked, and I'm trying to get Taylor to do it, of like, but hire the film crew for like even to come to the initial listing presentation, and like part of the deal is like film the whole thing, start to finish, and tell the story, like storyboard it out, have them there along the way, and like do that a few times a year. And you now have this database like of this really cool group of videos that walk through the whole thing with interviews with the seller, different vendors, things like that.
So here's an interesting question, okay? We're living in the information age, the digital age, the social age, the search age. Let's just say Taylor or Andrew or Ravi, you get transplanted. And now all of a sudden you're selling real estate in Miami or Dallas or Austin. How would you build your business? You know nobody.
Don't know anybody. I mean,
okay, let's say you know like 3 people.
3 people, that's fine. So, well, like, there's a couple things I would do first, which like is just looking at who in there is selling real estate, what are the competition. Like you can see some markets today where you could go in and dominate SEO. You can't do that in Toronto today quickly. Put me out in Belleville. I'm pretty sure I could, because I was looking at this for someone not that long ago. I could get to the top of the rankings in 6 months in Belleville and start bringing in leads that way. So like I would do a little bit of like, where are the opportunities in this market specifically? But then I would start joining social clubs. I would be going out and kind of figuring out again, who are my ideal clients in that area? Where are they hanging out? And I'm going to go spend a lot of time doing that because like the online stuff's going to take time to pay off. So I'm going to start doing that. But then I'd probably do like come explore the city with me social, and that type of thing. But yeah, basically just a lot of really good content on this side while getting out in person to meet my ideal clients as fast as I can.
And Google My Business seems to be super under leveraged, right?
Yes.
Like imagine
and in the States, it's better because you can do ads tailored to it that you only pay for viable leads.
So imagine every time you've posted to your Instagram story or your Instagram feed, imagine you posted to Google My Business. And all of a sudden, Gemini and all these tools are saying, oh, it appears like Andrew Foliato is the best agent in Belleville. And then obviously you got to build some testimonials, etc. And I'd probably tie in open house too. I would be like,
so you know what you got to do with Google My Business too now, because this is what we've noticed with AI, is it doesn't just look for number reviews, it reads them and then uses the words in the review. So like we're working with a client right now where it's like a group of people, a whole team of essentially showing agents essentially. And we want them to like mention the name and the neighborhood in every review. Like that's the minimum goal, is every review that gets posted, name and neighborhood of the person there. Because we need to get those in there to help it rank. And there's no reason you won't go pretty fast. Like that's the quickest way to get to the top now, is just do that while you work on kind of the in-depth stuff on your website. But the Google My Business listing is huge.
Yeah, like I find it like I realize that there's a threat to my business, that while I understand the industry of real estate, my business is centered around the people who I have connection to. So if I moved to Vancouver or Winnipeg or Ottawa, like I'd be starting without these people, right? Yeah. So I often think about it, how would I build over? And it's interesting because that's not what I teach my team either. I teach my team the MARE campaign, 100 Days to Greatness, and who's the 100 people that you can opt into your VIP program, right? So
that's what I'd be thinking about if I was in a place like Texas. Is I would start with research. So I would figure out enough to have some grip on market knowledge. Yeah. And then I would set a routine that helps acquire neighborhood knowledge and house knowledge, viewing a certain number of listings per week, so on and so forth. And then I would target anywhere that I could get into that has more than 200 people at once, that are 30 to 60 years old, families with kids predominantly.
Yeah. And I would look at that a lot. Like this is where there's an argument for joining a team. Like if I went back to like when I started, I didn't know the industry at all. I should have joined a team for at least the first year or two to get that knowledge. Because I learned the marketing stuff very fast, but I was actually, once I got them, not a great realtor, if I'm being honest. I got better at it, but like at the beginning, I didn't know what I was doing. But I was really good at the other side. So like I would think, like in hindsight, should have joined a team, learned the actual, being a realtor part. Because I learned the marketing side and all how to get clients. I didn't put enough attention into, all right, now I got them. Let's work.
And I really think that many people should make an experience worth delivering it, and then talk about that.
Yeah, right. It's one of the most important pieces. Like you have to, like when we talk about like the ACE framework, I'm sure like one of the 9 most, like we have everything broken down into 9 things you do in your business. One is essentially 5-star service, which is be a good freaking realtor.
Yeah.
Like the nothing else, everything falls apart if that's not there. Like you're never going to get consistent referrals. The people aren't going to come back. They're just you can get them in, and then it's just how quickly can you fill the new pipeline up, and everyone never comes back to you.
And by the way, if you guys are reading, Alexa Hannigan wins the most engaged audience member today. Thank you, Alexa.
She even had kintsugi in there, which is the actual art form of filling in broken vase cracks with gold.
Yeah.
And that's what Ravi was
love
talking
those.
about. And I love your message where you're like, I want to deliver the lessons I've learned without the scars that brought them.
Yeah, you know what? I feel like, so for example, they've asked me to speak at an event on March 26th, and somehow, without any expertise in health and wellness, and I'm by no means a practitioner in any way, shape, or form, but I am in every way a patient of the medical system and the wellness renaissance that I think a lot of millennials are going through. And there is to any real estate agent listening to this, please take this as the most important part of today's talk. There is a social experiment that we are going through right now of 24/7 connection and cortisol deregulation. And if we continue on the trajectory of always on hustle culture, cutthroatedness, fight for the deal, if we continue on that, our bodies will fail us. And you know what? I never thought I've been a stressed person, but my cortisol levels and my markers will say I carry a lot of stress. And what you need to do, I think, in this business is create the framework for you to thrive in business, but not carry the load. And Andrew and Taylor, you guys both know Ken, and I adore Ken McLaughlin. I think he's just such an interesting, great mentor of mine. And he told me a story that when he was a manager, he felt like he needed to be there for all the agents, and every day they'd come and they'd just rip a piece of him away. And on one day in particular, he got this bad news from an agent about a situation their child went through. And on the same day, he got some bad news from an agent about something happening in their marriage. And he realized that he was just absorbing all of these people's situations and stress and pressures and problems. I said, so what did you do? And I love this because it doesn't really mean anything. He said, well, it's a practice. I'm like, what's a practice? He's like, well, you need to be able to manage through. I'm like, how do you manage through? You know when people give you the fluff, but they don't give you the answer?
Yeah.
Well, that's because Ken McLaughlin is like the Karate Kid, instructor. And he's like, I could tell you, but your head would explode. Yeah. Or it'd take me 6 weeks to collect all the lessons it took to get me here.
So here's what I figured out, all right? For me, there are tactical things that I do now that save me from myself. The first is box breathing. And I don't want to get into all the details of it. The second is water. The third is movement. The fourth is sleep. And the fifth is calendar. Like, don't call me. Like, I won't pick up. Steve Tabrisi just called me, and I will text him. I'll say, hey, are you free at this time? And he'll say, sure, no problem, buddy, give me a call, right? Like, and this sounds weird as a real estate agent, because what are we trained to do? Pick up the phone when it rings.
Well, next time Steve calls you on this podcast, you should answer. And we definitely want to have you back. We're 2 minutes past the hour, and we're going to keep Ravi for a couple of questions if people have them. We're going offline now, which means that if you're in the Zoom audience, you're coming with us. And if you're catching this later on YouTube, you should show up next time. There's a link to the Leads Are Shit on the Real Estate Magazine podcast, and that means that you get to hang out a little bit longer. Have a good day.
Yeah. Before we go, Ravi, one last thing. If people want to send you a referral, reach out. Where do they do it?
Yeah, so I just shared my social handle.
You send it to hosts and panelists.
IG. I will switch it to IG. So Ravi Singh Remax on Instagram is where to find him.
Yeah.
And we'll put it in the show notes. But Ravi is easy to find on social media, and a good follow, because he shows you how to be like a community leader just through doing it.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. And I you know what? It's interesting. This certainly doesn't pay the bills, so to speak, this type of masterminds and collaborations. But I'll tell you guys, I am a big fan of what's happening at REM. I'm a big fan of, the thought leadership that both of you guys do. I feel very fortunate to have come up amongst the greats, and I consider two of you certainly in that group, right? And I'd say there's kind of like a group of us that have all kind of like, been doing this for a fair bit of time and have all grown together. And Andrew, I remember you posting those videos on YouTube and shorts and all that when you didn't know maybe too much about
what I was doing.
Yeah, you didn't know what went on the Schedule A, but you knew marketing, right? And Taylor, I remember the Boomtown investments and the everything that you did to front load your team with all the tools. And I remember there was a guy, what's the name of that guy from Detroit that works with Rich? Nathan Dart. He went through that journey too. And
he's Maryland, I looked at not Detroit, I think.
Maryland, yes. But I watched Nathan and you kind of level up on all those big team methods, and I realized that wasn't for me. But it's been a pleasure to kind of journey in this industry with great people like the two of you.
Oh, likewise, man. It's a jungle out there, and finding the cats you want to hang out with is what we're doing. So if you identify as one of the people that Ravi's talking about, and we all know who the alumni of awesome agents in Canada are, Andrew's kind of making a home for us. So you guys should connect and get in touch. All right, we're going to the after show.
All right, turn off recording. If you're watching the recording, just fucking show up live next time, and we'll be good to go.